We took a look at people that are using Kratom, and it's helping their metabolic panel, which is great. We want people to do well. We want people to do better. But then there's this other side of it where people can develop dependence on it. They can have withdrawal syndromes, all of these other things. So where does that leave us, right? We know Kratom may improve metabolic symptoms, but it can also lead to dependency, it can lead to withdrawal, it can lead to functional impairment. So we do need more studies, right? We do need the science to look at it. Hello and welcome to the Transform Minds, the podcast where we explore the real world intersections of mental health, addiction, and transformative care. I'm your host, Dr. Olusudo. Many people know me as Dr. O. And with each episode, we take a very thoughtful, practical, and evidence-informed look at how we can improve psychiatric and addiction care, from clinical settings to community spaces. Today is the Host RX, and I'm so glad you're tuning in. If you're new here is our vibe. Host RX is just me and you, where we break down the research and we share what matters most for our work, your work and my work. And then we have Expert RX, where we bring in the very brilliant minds from our field. Clinicians, researchers, change makers, whoever it is. As long as they're an expert, they know what they're talking about, and we share the same values and goals of bringing transformative care to people and restorative care to people and making sure people are having the best outcomes. We invite them here. And that also goes for Lived RX, where it's just real life stories that we do. Guests who have lived it, they have survived it, and they are reshaping the system because of their experiences. So here we are today with our host RX, just me and you. And what are we talking about today? So let me burst your brain, okay? What if the same plant that lowered your cholesterol also left you in withdrawal? Yes. What is this plant we're talking about? In today's episode, we are going to explore two sites of Kratom. All right, we're going to take a look at two studies. So one is a meta-analysis that links long-term Kratom use to improvement in your metabolic health, and a 2021 clinical case series that highlights Kratom use disorder and the treatment, testing out buprenorphine and naloxone. And most of us know that we use this combination, what we call Suboxone. We use it for opioid use disorder. Well, this study with a series of cases showing that it helps for Kratom use as well. And what is Kratom, right? We know Kratom is a plant, and I can't say this, so I'm going to try, right? Mitragina speciosa, I think that's what it says, okay? And we know it's a plant, it's a bitter tea, and for most people, they use it ritually. It's meant to heal. But what if this plant that's meant to heal, this ritual actually becomes a risk, right? We know it's a tropical plant from a native Southeast Asia, right? In the United States, it's actually often marketed as a legal herbal alternative to opioids or an energy booster. But we also know that it's not FDA approved and it's highly unregulated, right? So we have this new reputation for Kratom, right? You can use it. It will relieve your chronic pain. You don't have to take your opiates anymore. It will help with the anxiety. If you have an opiate withdrawal, it's going to help. If you're fatigued, it's going to boost your energy. Like, we get all of these, like, new reputation for it, right? And we're not saying that's not true or that's bad, but when you use it to self-treat your chronic pain or to get off your opioids, as a plant that is very poorly regulated and has an addictive potential, we have to take a pause. And we literally have to have a conversation. And what most of the time is missing in our conversation, it's a very balanced, evidence-based data. And that's what we're here today to discuss, right? We're looking at these studies, a meta-analysis, which is literally higher up at the tier of importance, or not importance. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, when we look at studies and what it means and like the level of like significance of the study, right? Observational studies, all of those are down here, like cohort, case studies, systemic reviews. Meta-analysis is up here because it has an increase in the power of the study. So we're looking at this meta-analysis that's looking at multiple studies and has put all the studies together and critically looked at it and given us a higher power to see what does this say, right? So let's take a look at that. The 2025 Systemic Review and Meta-Analysis is actually published in Frontiers in Pharmacology, and it took 18 studies that's been published that's linking long-term kratom use. It's important to specify that it's not acute. They looked at long-term users and the effect that using kratom for a long time actually have on their metabolic system. And then when they looked at this, what they found was that LDL, which we know as the bad cholesterol, was actually decreased in long-term users. Triglycerides were also lowered. So basically, when you do a lipid panel, all the things we looked at, all the bad ones were lowered and the good one was higher. So like your HDL, like your good cholesterol, that was higher. And BMI for some people were significantly lower on average compared to people that were not using kratom long-term, right? And what this results is basically suggesting is that kratom may improve your metabolic markers, right? And what the authors actually, the hypotheses they offered for this is that kratom may be suppressing your appetite, just like any stimulant may do, right? So when you use kratom, you don't feel like you want to eat so much. And because it's being advertised and it's increasing your energy and your stamina for most people, they have an increase in their physical activity. They have more energy. They can go for a walk. They can, get through their 60-minute workout a day or 30-minute, moderate to vigorous physical activity of the day, right? And it also has anti-inflammatory effects, right? So for certain alkaloids in kratom, it can reduce that systemic inflammation, which will influence like your lipid metabolism. And that whole system, it memorized in my memory during medical school. Don't ask me the Krebs cycle and all of those things. Don't ask me about it, okay? Don't ask me. Don't ask me because those systems were challenged. But basically, they're showing its influence in that metabolism, right? Of your lipids and all of that. But also, lifestyle clustering is what they're calling it. Is basically kratom users may have different diet, exercise, and substance use patterns that may not have been fully captured in these studies. And these findings are consistent across both like community-based and clinical samples. So with some studies showing improving insulin sensitivity as well. So think of that patient or that person that may have diabetes, that person that may have like cardiovascular problems, right? For most people, this may be helpful for them. So as clinicians, we don't have to just like forget about you, forget about it. This is unregulated. I'm not going to listen. Like, take time to listen, take time to research and see what's out there and how that can help, right? That's the one side of the coin, right? But we have to also sort of know that this is one, most of these studies they looked at in the systematic review, it's observational studies, cross-sectional studies, non-randomized studies, right? So we can't really put a causality or correlational like approach to it, right? We can't really say kratom for sure is causing these changes, right? We can identify patterns, but we can't put causality to it. And if you remember, I mentioned like pyramid of like research studies, and I told you, like observational, cross study, all of that, they're like at the bottom of that pyramid, and at the top of that pyramid is a meta-analysis. So though this paper is a systemic review and meta-analysis, we have to look at the individual studies that is looking at. You can't put a causality to an observational study, right? You really can't do that. So we have to be cautious, and I have to put that caveat in there. So let's talk about a case. So you have Mr. D, a 42-year-old truck driver that comes in and is telling you, walks into your office, come in for their regular checkup, and they're like, hey, doc, my diabetes, I know I'm obese, and I know like my lipids were really high, but lately, I'm like feeling a little bit more sharper. I've lost about 15 pounds since February, and the only thing I've been doing is drinking this new tea I got off of Amazon. And I'm like, huh? So you're like, okay, I remember. I sent you to get some blood work. Let's take a look at it. And now you look, and this man that had elevated lipid panel, right? Like their LDL is decreased by like 20, HDL is higher, the BMI went from 32 like a 29, and their A1C is like 5.7. And you're like, oh, okay. So what are any different things you've been doing this whole time? And this person is like, nothing much. Like I've still been doing the same old stuff I'm doing, but I took kratom, so I have some energy. So I've been going for walks. I'm losing pounds. I don't really feel like eating much because I'm taking this kratom, and since I've been taking it, I don't really feel hungry. Well, there you go. But he's also like, I'm off my opioids now. Like my back pain is gone, so I'm not taking that hydromorphone anymore, oxycodone anymore. I'm physically active, and I don't take any other medications. I'm literally just taking the kratom tea, right? Like all these bells are ringing. You're like, what is that? You're getting something from Amazon. Sometimes you don't even know exactly what's in whatever packet that you got, but they're doing better. They look physically better, and they're telling you they feel better, right? So this improvement from this case shows that there's been like an alignment with the 2025 data that we just looked at. So even though some red flags are being raised, you're like, okay, let's take a pause and let's look more into this. So keep this case in mind. We'll come back to Mr. D. Now let's look at the flip side of kratom, right? We've looked at the positives, but remember when we started off, we're like, what if this magical tea that's helping you lose weight, you have more energy, all of that, what if it can also be a risk, right? What happens when you start taking too much of it, when you start misusing it, and you become dependent on it, right? So in 2021, Wise and Douglas published like a series of cases in the Journal of Addiction Medicine on kratom use disorder. And they reviewed about 6 published cases and 2 clinical cases where patients developed daily high dose use. So let's say they started using like 2 grams of kratom. Now they're using like 3 grams of it. And they were starting to have withdrawal symptoms when they didn't take as much, or they didn't take them at all. So they were having like anxiety, they were very irritable all the time, they were not sleeping as much as they were supposed to, and they were shaken. They're like tremulous. And they couldn't stop because every time they attempted to stop taking this tea, they started shaking. They felt more anxious. They were angry all the time, and they can't sleep. So what happened, right? Kratom dependence can happen, and with substances like this, especially when it's highly unregulated, we don't know what's in there, it's not FDA approved to treat anything, you have to be really careful of how you use these things, because there is that possibility that you can develop some symptoms that we don't know. So what the study also found was, for these cases, what helped to treat them was Suboxone, which is the mixture of buprenorphine and naloxone. And this is the same medication that we use to treat opioid use disorder. Their model, or the studies, like this systematic review of the cases, basically created a model where they correlated kratom dose with the appropriate buprenorphine dose. So like a 10 to 20 gram per day was to like a 4.8 milligram a day. And then 40 grams per day was like 12 to 16 milligrams per day. How much kratom to buprenorphine dose that you have. So we have to sort of come to like a clinical balance, right? So yes, there's this study out there and these studies out there that are telling us that, okay, we took a look at people that are using kratom and it's helping with their metabolic panel, which is great. We want people to do well. We want people to do better. But then there's this other side of it where people can develop dependence on it. They can have withdrawal syndromes, all of these other things. So where does that leave us, right? We know kratom may improve metabolic symptoms, but it can also lead to dependency, it can lead to withdrawal, it can lead to functional impairment. So we do need more studies, right? We do need the science to look at it, right? To look at what's going on, how people are using it, what are the patterns that we see, is there any like causal relationships between kratom use, metabolic, any like effects, negative effects that it can have, like with anything. And this is something I actually tell people all the time that may come into the office or I may see, and sometimes it helps with explanations where they're like worried about side effects and they're like, I can't take this. Is this going to give me side effects? And I tell them, to be honest with you, nothing is 100%, right? No medication is one size fit all. So I can't say this is definitely going to help you, but I can look at the research, I can look at the study and say, this is what the evidence shows. And based on my experience, this is what I've had. But what I can also say is, look, some people may get side effects, some people may not get them, but these are the side effects, these are the rare ones, these are the common ones. So they may happen to you. Be aware of these side effects. But most importantly, even drinking water comes with side effects, right? If you drink water the wrong way, it goes down the wrong pipe. You may start coughing because that's not where it was supposed to go, right? If you drink too much of water toxicity, you drink less water, you're dehydrated, you can affect your kidneys. So you just have to make sure you're drinking the right amount of water. And it's the same thing. So even though we may not know like everything about kratom, what we can tell you is taking too much of it may not be good for you. And it can lead to withdrawal, it can lead to dependence, it can cause some functional impairment. And we don't want you walking out here with impaired judgment and you don't know, like you don't have insight into what's going on around you. That can be very dangerous for anyone. So for my clinicians, don't dismiss kratom outright. Patients may be using it for different reasons. Always ask the why. You want to be like, hey, why are you using it? Maybe they may be in pain. Maybe there was some traumatic incident. They're still in an anxious state. Some people may be recovering from substance use. Maybe the patient was taking opioids for pain and now, they're addicted to opioids and it's helping them sort of get off of the opioids. It could be in a lot of different contexts. Just ask them, hey, why are you taking this? Always ask the why, because there's always a story to the person walking in. There's always a story behind everything that's happening. And for policymakers, this raises deeper questions about why people turn into kratom. Why is the system meant to support them, not helping? Because right now, our system, it feels like it's failing a lot. Not like it feels like, it is failing a lot. There's so much going on. So we need policymakers to stand up and do what's right. Do what's right for the people we're caring for and the people that are caring for the people that we're caring for. I know that was a mouthful. And for researchers, this is a call to move beyond just stigma, and let's really continue to do that rigorous, unbiased studies to see what's really happening. Let's get to the bottom of this. And then we come back to the policymakers because we need the funding to do the research. So please help us. Stop taking them away. This is my mini advocacy call out there. So let's go back to Mr. D, our truck driver, right? So they came in initially, they were doing better. And now they've left. He left. We talked about it, some psychoeducation provided, and then they come back. It's been a few months. And now Mr. D is telling you, Doc, I was feeling so good with the tea. I kept drinking more and more of it. And I feel like every time I drink it, or even I don't drink it, I feel more anxious. I feel like I need more of this tea to feel the same effects that I was feeling 3 months ago. And I keep drinking and I'm losing even more weight than I would like to lose it. But I can't stop drinking the tea. I'm shaking most of the time. I feel like I get easily annoyed with my family and friends. I don't know what's going on. What do you think happened? Well, Mr. D has developed tolerance, right? Because now he's needing more to feel the same that he was feeling a few months ago, to get the same effects he was getting a few months ago. So he's developed some tolerance to it. And physically, he has some dependence because when he's not taking it, he's not feeling too good. And then he has withdrawal, right? So when he doesn't take it, he's shaking, he's tremulous, he's not sleeping well, all of these things are happening. And now he's even losing more weight than he would love to do, right? And remember, there's a normal range, so his LDL may be decreasing, and if he keeps taking it, it may go way below where you want it to be, like the normal limits. So we have to keep an eye on these things and make sure that we are treating our patients well, we're asking them why, and we're giving them appropriate resources and where to go. Again, I always bring this up: the Opioid Response Network, the AAAP, American Association of Addiction Psychiatry. All of these are resources that you can use to help your patients. If you want more information about any of these things, all the links to the case series and the meta-analysis will be at the bottom on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, or on YouTube. Come see me on YouTube. If you found this episode really interesting and you wanted to learn more about Kratom like I wanted to, well, share it with someone that's curious about Kratom, addiction, recovery, and metabolic health. If you know any expert that wants to come talk to us about Kratom and how Suboxone is being used to treat it even more, please send this episode to them. Send them my way. Subscribe for more Host RX breakdowns, expert RX interviews, live RX stories, and please come back, subscribe, share, like, and until next time, stay ready, stay aware, and stay grounded.